Hello, everyone. Good evening. Namaste. This is Harsha Ramaya. Welcome to this wonderful session. Today, we are going to have a very fruitful discussion. I'm sure this question about schools reopening, schools closing in this pandemic is often discussed amongst the educators, amongst the parents, and everyone. So, today on this panel, I have two esteemed dignitaries with me. One is Her Highness Srimati Samyukta Devi Maharani of Bhavnagar. Namaste, ma'am, and welcome to this show.
Very much.
Thank you so much. And another on this panel, I have Dr. Swati Popatwats. She does not need any introduction at all, but ma'am, allow me to say a few lines for you.
No,
So,
no,
Dr. Swati, ma'am, one line.
no.
Please, ma'am. Dr. Swati Popatwats is one of my greatest mentor. I'm sure बहुत सारों के mentors है. She is a very uh, best person that I've met on this earth when it comes to education because I look up to her for everything that I want to decide in my life. And ma'am, you've always been there for everything that we all need. So thank you so much, Dr. Watts. Dr. Swati Popat Watts is the president of Early Childhood Association and Association for Primary and Research, and she's also the president of Podar Education Network. Ma'am, welcome to this show.
Thank you. It's an
So, ma'am,
honor to
today,
be here. Actually, it's a big honor for me to share the stage with Maharani Saiba, knowing that she is not only a good human being, she is an educator at heart. Thank you, ma'am.
I must confess that I bow down to you. You are my son's teacher, and it was our good luck that you were his first teacher, and it's always such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you for remembering that, ma'am. Thank you so much. Means a lot to me as a teacher.
We can never forget.
thank you so much, ma'am. So today we are going to discuss on this very hot topic, why should only education suffer in this pandemic? I'm sure we all have talked about this. We have debated about on this topic, and there are many speculations on this topic. Schools khulenge, nahi khulenge, khulenge to kaise khulenge, kab khulenge. So there are a few questions that keep on rolling on everybody's mind. So we thought let's have a discussion on this. So my first question to Maharani Saiba is that the education has come on a virtual platform. Earlier, it was a physical school when children used to go to school, but now it has changed completely. Everything is on this screen, and the teachers teach through this screen, the students learn through this screen. So, ma'am, how do you feel that how has this impacted the overall development of a child? Ma'am, over to you.
Uh, well, I would actually prefer to have Swati ma'am answer this because she is a professional here, but I'll put in my two bits as well. So, according to me, as with everything else in life, Harsha, the divide is between the rich and the poor. Unfortunately, it has happened in education as well. Because for those of you who are, in Delhi, Bombay, with elite schools, everybody who has a laptop at home, you have educated parents who can sit back and help you. The level at which we are trying to work is where students are lucky if there is one mobile phone, one smartphone in the family. So for a majority in India, at least, it's very difficult. It's a disaster. It has turned things around in their lives. I think this 1 year can more or less be written off because I'm a great believer that education is not about what our road system is about, but it's about what you are trying to internalize and how it teaches you to think for yourself, and also what you learn from the sports field, what you learn when you go for the school trip. And I'm also a great believer in the fact that I think a parent is different from a teacher. I know a lot of people believe in homeschooling, and they are managing to a good extent. The times are such that you don't have a choice. But I really believe that beyond a certain age, it is the teacher who can teach, and the parents have to give the love and the support system at home. So for me, from what the localized Bhavnagar version that I see in our students, both the boys and the girls, And I will speak a little more later about the fact that, especially for girls at the college level, the saddest is the dropout rate. We already have students who are going, the parents are getting them married. So there are very huge repercussions of this in the long run.
Very well said, ma'am. You really put both the things on discussion, that the elite crowd and the crowd that we have in the smaller towns. Over to you, Dr. Watts, with the same question.
I fully agree with Maharani Sahiba that we only think about one section of children. When we talk about education, we have to A, think about all children because every child deserves education. And B, we also have to think of all the levels of education. So whether it is pre-primary, primary, secondary, senior secondary. So it is very important to understand that when we answer this question, it should be not only from the point of view of the pre-primary, but what have children lost developmentally? Now, the pre-primary are just understanding about socio-emotional development. They are at that stage. So they have lost out a little on those bonds that they would have otherwise created in the classroom. They are not able to make friends easily because they are constantly at home. Parents are worried about taking them out. And when they do take them out, because they have had very little exposure this year to social communication or to social behavior, I have heard parents grumbling about their misbehavior. कि बाहर लेके जाते हैं तो they don't know how to behave, etc. And so it is very important to understand, if you look at the primary children were used to school and they were used to having friends. So they were the ones who missed it the most. So I know of primary teachers who tell me that, when we switch on and start the class, the children start talking to each other as if, hungrily waiting to hear from each other, talk to each other, and the teacher is completely sidelined. When we talk about secondary children, they actually went into a shell because these children thrive on their social bonding. For them, their friend circle is their universe. And for them not to meet them, and even if they meet them online, they don't get that kind of vibe that they usually get when they go for a cup of coffee or they meet outside, etc. So developmentally, each stage has lost a lot. But I would say kudos to teachers. Overnight, the teacher community had to learn how to do things online. Many of these teachers are those who hated technology, who were always worried that technology will replace them. And technology was able to replace schools, but technology was not able to replace teachers. As the Maharani Sahiba said, that there are some things only a teacher can teach. And it's time we accepted that and understood that children right now need both a parent and a teacher. So, but one person trying to do both the roles is not going to work. It's going to be stressful. And it's very, very important for us to understand that, yes, physically children are getting less outdoor experiences, but that can still be mitigated at home. But it is the emotional and social bonding, which is something that teachers must focus on. And I urge teachers to have one-on-one meetings also with the children to find out, also break them up in smaller groups of 5, let them chat with each other, children, just let them have that time to talk to each other because they are missing those conversations. They are missing those little secrets that they can have, that little laughter that they can have. So it is very, very important to understand, though developmentally they have missed a few things, I would rather celebrate that learning has been kept alive. And we have to accept and embrace that this is the way forward. Even if schools do open, whenever they open, click brick, as I like to call it, it's going to be a combination of that. It's going to be a long time before we see the normal that we saw again in schools.
Absolutely. Dr. Watts, you very lightly mentioned, I just want to share an example here. My daughter, who's in grade 2, she went in senior KG, and now directly, whenever the school will open, I don't know whether in grade 3 or grade 4, So like when she got her new books at that time, she was, Mama, मैं school जाऊंगी कि घर पे ही पढ़ना होगा? And I mean, these small conversations, you feel children miss their school so much. And very rightly, you mentioned that those small chats should be encouraged by the teachers because I think that will keep the children socially active. So thank you, Dr. Watts. My second question to Maharani Saiba is, preschools and schools have remained closed for such a long time. What are the ramifications on learning and development and the student skills? Over to you, ma'am.
Well, again, the professional answer would come from Swati ma'am, but I will put my views across. For me, the entire scenario for education is very, very bleak. And I do believe that the governments, the administration, of course, the first thing is the medical crisis that everybody is looking at, and then the second thing is the economic. So education has been pushed behind. And we worry about the 10th board exam and the 12th board exam. Nobody thinks of these little toddlers who by the first 5 years they are going to be learning the entire foundation for the rest of their lives. And there is so much that is needed to bring out the best in those 5 years for the foundation to be strong. So like I said, professionally, of course, Swati ma'am will be able to explain things better, how they're supposed to be nurtured and how important play schools are, or how important your nurseries are. So I don't know. Also, the problem is also for the mothers, because the mother has to be happy to bring up a happy, healthy, smart child. And the mothers are struggling just now because for those of the ladies who are working, they are sitting at home. It's so happened that the moment they're not going out for their jobs, they have ended up doing the cooking, cleaning, looking after in-laws, looking after the families, the little ones as well. They are not going to be balanced and happy enough to be able to take care of all these things. So the biggest mental toll, emotional toll is going to be on the mothers. So for the little toddlers, it's going to be a very big problem when they eventually do start coming, how to reconnect, how to have their social interactions, how to be able to, there's going to be separation anxiety for all of them. So it's frightening and it's sad and it's difficult. But at the same time, I do feel very positive about the fact that children are very resilient and they're stronger than we give them credit. So let's hope and pray that one has to keep being positive about things. So
Very well said, ma'am. And I would like to add here that yes, when Dr. Watts mentioned that when we are juggling between two roles, a mother's role and a teacher's role, always the scale on the teacher's role will weigh on a higher side because we always feel कि बच्चा school नहीं जाता है तो let me teach this child little more so that they don't lose out on education. So here at that time, learning means rote learning. What I'm trying to say is rote learning. School may say whatever is taught, we just want the children to finish everything. So here somewhere the role of a mother is also going on a very lower side. So that social connectivity of being a mother. Yes, ma'am.
Harsha, and all mothers are not good teachers. It's
Yes.
very
Yeah.
important for us to realize that, because of course I really want my child to do well, but in my own example, my children, whatever I would teach them would end up doing well in the better in the subject that I liked. And the subject that I wasn't particularly fond of, my child didn't end up really liking that. That happens. So it's very important for mothers to understand that we are not good teachers, not always.
Very well said, ma'am. Very well said. Over to you, Dr. Watts, for the same questions that schools have been locked down since long. Children have not gone to school. So you answered this question partially in the earlier one, but I want you to elaborate.
So, Harsha, the ramifications are going to be on three things: on education of the poor, on education of early years, and on women in the workforce. Not many people are realizing this, that a lot of women have had to leave their jobs to sit at home and to take care of their child's studies. Because when you are a couple, it is a great decision making process that now there's online classes, there is no school. So, who should be the one who stays back home? And it's almost always the mother. In maybe 20% of the cases, the father would decide to stay back, but it would always be the mother. So we would see ramifications in the women workforce, because a lot of them would miss out, because if they've been home for 2 years or 3 years, they miss out on their promotions, they miss out on their chance to grow in their careers, and so many other things, And automatically, when a woman's drive of achievement has been affected, it will show in her parenting, it will show in her own mental status. So there are going to be huge ramifications on women, number one. Number two, the poor, who were till now convinced about going, sending their children out there to study, are going to need more earning hands in their family. So they are going to be very hesitant about sending their children to school. They will consider it a waste of time, because they would say that if 2 years बच्चे ने पढ़ा नहीं तो कुछ हुआ नहीं ना, तो अभी पढ़ाने की क्या जरूरत है. So again, that entire educational drive which we as a country achieved, we wanted to achieve literacy, that's going to take a backstage. And early childhood education, we had just reached a level where we had convinced parents that these are the important years. We have just released a national education policy that kind of confirms that education begins at age 3, the brain develops rapidly in the first 5 years. But do you think parents are going to be so ready to send out their children to preschools, even when things become normal? It's going to take a long time. If you notice, when it came to early childhood education, that was the first to be sacrificed in a family. That it's okay, nahi padega to chalega. I have been speaking to so many parents and mothers especially, that don't talk bad about virtual classes in front of your child, because your child is imitating your emotions and is picking up on those and feeling that why should I sit in front of the screen? My mummy says it's not good. My mummy says I can't sit. So, it's very, very important to understand that there are going to be three huge ramifications. And I, being a sociologist, I feel that it is the sociological ramifications which are going to be the worst for us to deal with post-pandemic.
Very well said, ma'am. And I would really like to add my experience over here. I run a preschool in a town, in a small town called Bhavnagar. So here also, as you rightly mentioned, the Bonvita ad will tell that foundational years are very important. And the parents, 2 साल अगर बच्चा स्कूल नहीं जाएगा तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. But as you very rightly said, ma'am, virtual background, virtual training or virtual education definitely is not a substitute, but definitely has helped the parents to understand. Now, in this 1 year, when the parents have done activities with the children, they have understood the development cycle of the child. So now, when this simple activity like setting the spoons in order, when we used to do in school, अरे ये spoon वाला activity में क्या है, क्या time आप waste करते हो? Now, when they do this activity at home, and when they see the development themselves, now they understand that why these foundational years are very important. So I think that there are some good things that have happened in this lockdown also when children have been at home. Number one, they have understood the value of a teacher, because earlier
Yes.
we preschool teachers were like babysitters, like आप तो babysitting करते हो, ABCD पढ़ाते हो, उसमें क्या है, colors पढ़ाना है, birds का नाम, fruits का नाम. But now they have understood that it's not only ABCD, but it's a lot of development that takes place. So thank you, ma'am, for this answer. Uh, Over to you, Maharani ji. There was an article which you had released with Divya Bhaskar. So this question is related to that. That in our country, do you feel that education is on the last when we put our priorities on list? Because most often education, and to be more specific, the early childhood education has always been, that is what I feel, that has always been last on the priority list, or it has never been on the priority list. So, Maharani Saiba, over to you for this question. What do you feel?
Uh, yes, so Harsha, I spoke out because I was very shocked about the fact that the Gujarat government chose to close the schools before the second wave really became a wave in Gujarat. And, people were having weddings, people were going for election campaign rallies here in Gujarat. We had the civic polls, and if you go to a marketplace, there's a crowd and people are going about their daily lives. But the moment there was a slight spike, we got this sudden circular saying that schools and colleges should shut down. So I was very, very upset about that. And it is, a very big problem in India where I do believe that we don't give enough importance to education. I'm very happy that we have, they've announced this new education policy, and I'm very, very excited about it in all honesty, and I'm looking forward to, all of us implementing it. But up till now, education has not really been a priority for any of the governments. What we talk about the rote learning, and all of you are now talking about these very wonderful new ways of teaching children early learning, which is so important, and which we really didn't know about until I moved to Bombay from North India. I really didn't know what the Montessori system was. So India has had this very set system of rote learning, and yes, then they say, okay, but they go out and they do so well and everything. But I think that's very individualistic. Overall, we don't teach our children to think for themselves. And I feel very strongly that the government and the administration has had 1 year. Last year, when there was a complete lockdown, hats off to the government. They did what they had to do, because we were all, there was utter confusion. Everybody was frightened. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what had hit us. But 1 year down the line, we knew there were going to be waves after waves after wave. And it's, hats off to the scientific community that we already have this immunization program that's going out and everything now. So there's hope. But otherwise, we should have been prepared for that. And we know that, at least till currently, the youngsters aren't really at risk. Of course, when they go back home, their grandparents and the teachers and everything, but they are not, you know, they are not crowding like our great Indian, big fat Indian wedding. So I do believe, that time I was very upset, and I spoke up because I think a lot more thought needs to go into how we are going to bring our children back on track. And the government, we need their assistance. It's not, I feel that the schools have been left floundering for themselves. And for everything, we have other businesses, we have trusts where we have a temple, we have hotels, and all. We have opened everything the day we got permission. And we did that with the schools as well. And I thought it was very unfair to shut down the schools right away. And I pointed it out that all other countries, the last to shut down were the schools, and the first to reopen were the schools. So you must give the due importance to education.
Very well said, ma'am. Over to you, Dr. Watts, on the same question.
I can feel the angst that Maharani Sahiba must have gone through. And that's why I said she is an educator at heart, because, I got trolled so many times whenever I spoke about reopening schools. In fact, on LinkedIn, when I posted today's poster also, I was trolled again that, it's very easy for you to say, do you know that the second wave is so bad for children? And I said, if adults behaved like adults, then children would have a better life right now in the pandemic. And I think it's adults who have not behaved properly, because of whom the children are suffering. Let me give you an example of a small city in Italy called Reggio Emilia. This was a city that was destroyed in the Second World War. What did the people of the city do? They came together and decided, what do we rebuild first? Because our houses have been demolished, our churches have been demolished, everything is demolished. What do we start with first? And they unanimously voted that we first build an early childhood center for our youngest children. And that's why the town of Reggio Emilia is so famous for the Reggio Emilia method. People from all over the world go to visit this method. But who started this method? It is the municipality of Reggio Emilia. So it is very, very important to understand. I think we as a civilization have forgotten that we are because of our children. Children are not because of us. And that is the biggest mistake we made when we started our ICDS program. The ICDS program is the world's largest program. It's called the Integrated Child Development Services. And the ICDS only was developed to focus on nutrition and health services. Education was never added to it. I mean, as a growing country, we should have foreseen that it is education that's going to take us forward. You know, there are so many quotations by famous people that the best way to destroy a country is to destroy its education system. And today, our leaders, our ministers, our prime minister should be thinking about this, because for 2 years, you are going to allow your education system to be destroyed. Your children are not getting the education that they deserve or the education that they need. So it is very, very important to understand that when we say, is education the last priority? I think it's the least priority in our country. Maybe because children are not the vote bank. And maybe because, and this is going to hurt a lot of parents, but parents only wake up when it pinches their pocket. They don't wake up when it pinches their child. Today also, if you see during this pandemic, parents are not worried about whether their children are learning well or not. They are more worried about the fees being charged by the schools. Ideally, it should be parents who should be fighting for reopening of schools. Parents are not raising their voice and saying, why is my child not able to go to school? Why have you not created the environment where my child can go back to school? Why are parents not raising the voice? So it is important to understand that education is the last priority of every one of us, not only the government. And it is very, very important for us to understand that you both are from the land where education for the youngest started in this country in 1920 by Gijubai Badeka. And that man at that time, almost a century ago, was aware of the importance of early years. Mahatma Gandhi, again, who comes from Gujarat, spoke about pre-basic education, which means I think as a civilization, we have forgotten about the people who have taught us what it is which is important. And right now our priorities have completely changed. But we need to understand that if this is how we will continue, we will not be the nation that we are today. We are going to be destroyed if we destroy our education system. So it is fine to celebrate that we have an NEP. But when will this NEP be implemented if schools are going to be shut like this? I mean, look at it. Governments were stopping us from doing virtual learning. When the pandemic started, it was schools that started virtual learning. Yes, I agree. Some of them started it wrong. Some of them were taking it for too long hours. But whatever it was, you could have changed it for better quality. But we were fighting as an association with governments. Please allow virtual learning. And why were governments banning virtual learning? Because they were listening to parents. And why were parents not wanting virtual learning? Because they felt fees to bhar diya hai na, abhi hum kyun padhaye bachcho ko. So it all boiled down to money and vote banks. And that is what I think we need to all be worried about, that whether we are a parent or whether we are a government, whether we are a system, we should be worried about the education of our children, period.
Very well said, Dr. Watts. Very well. You've put everything in order, because I'm sure that at most of the times, even the parents don't look for the betterment of their children, though they talk about it, but they don't actually mean when they talk. And very rightly, you pointed out that it's the pocket that affects. It's the pocket that speaks, because we all have been struggling, and thanks to ECA, because when we were struggling for virtual learning, I'm sure we all have hard time. We had a long hard time, because the government did not allow that. And at that time also, they listened to the parents. So I think through this medium, we can definitely request the parents to wake up, because it's high time that they start understanding that it's the schools that should be looked upon for the opening. It's the government's headache how they do it, but I think that they have to set some standards, some guidelines, that how the schools will reopen, because till when can we expect the schools to be closed down? So I think parents
it's very know that when we talk about government, we are referring to state governments, because education is a state subject. So we cannot constantly badger the central government for it. I feel governments have lost the will to reopen schools, and because they feel they will lose their vote bank, which is the parents. They don't want to take the responsibility कि कल कोई भी बच्चे को कुछ भी हो गया तो हमारे ऊपर आएगा. But बच्चे को तो भी होगा because they are going to malls. बच्चे को तो भी होगा because they are already going to weddings. बच्चे को तो भी होगा. But they don't want to take the responsibility. You understand?
Exactly. Exactly. So the cases have even risen when the schools are shut down. It's not that because when Maharani ji wrote that article, that line struck me hard. You know, it hit me very hard कि अभी cases बढ़ रहे हैं जब बच्चे स्कूल में नहीं जा रहे हैं. Then who is responsible for it? Because now the schools are shut down. You cannot put the blame कि बच्चा स्कूल जा रहा था. Then also the cases have hiked because there are so many factors that have put these cases on high. And these are the adults. Very rightly you said, ma'am, that whatever stage or situation we are in, it's because of the adults. Because children don't go on their own to the weddings or to the malls or everything. It's the parent who takes them. So thank you so much. Ma'am, I'll come back to you only, Dr. Watts, for this question. What is your advice to the government on school reopening?
See, it's very important to understand that my advice to government is two-pronged. Number one is stop taking decisions on your own. Involve associations. I have noticed that governments only call parent associations whenever they want to take any decisions, you know, because parents are their vote bank. It's very important that governments, before they take any decisions, especially during emergency situations like a pandemic, they should invite all associations, make a committee with these associations, because these associations, A, have the research, B, they have the experience, and C, they would think of all the stakeholders. An association has a conscience, you know. So it is very, very important that number one, the governments need to take along the associations when they are taking important decisions when it comes to the education of children in that state. Number two, these associations also have to think, Harsha. I have seen everybody wanting to make a group. चलो एक ग्रुप बनाते हैं स्कूल रीओपनिंग का, तो कितने सारे इतने ग्रुप हो जाएंगे. Why are you not coming together and making one group that will go to the government? 100 small groups are opening. NISA is opening one group, ECA is opening one group, कोई दूसरा प्री स्कूल का प्रेसिडेंट है कहीं वो अपना खोल रहा है. Everybody is being selfish. We need to understand that we need to come together as one voice, and when we come back as a one voice, the government will not be able to ignore us. And number two, for governments, it's very important that at the beginning of the pandemic, there was categories like red, the zones, red, yellow, green. Very, very important for state governments to start doing that. Please reopen schools if it's a green zone. Please keep the school alternate day if it is a yellow zone, and if it's a red zone, only then close the schools. You can't close schools in the whole of Maharashtra or the whole of Gujarat. The whole of Maharashtra or the whole of Gujarat is not struggling with so many number of cases. So it is very important. Right now, if you show me one state where in pockets, wherever there is less corona cases, schools have reopened. They have not reopened. Punjab opened preschools. They were doing very well. And then the spike in the number of cases, and preschools and schools were all closed. I mean, why? If you all are able to open restaurants, which are more adult and more crowd and more chances of the virus spreading, why are you not reopening schools? And ultimately, it's the parents' choice whether to send the child to school or not. But you should at least give the option that, yes, schools are opening. So my advice to the government is very strong. Number one, don't take these decisions in haste. Please take along associations with you. And number two, don't have blanket decisions for the whole state. It's very, very important. You know, I'll tell you another reason, Harsha, that nobody is talking about why governments are not opening schools. Let's be very frank. They are not opening private schools because they have no way to function their government schools. And that's why they are not opening private schools, because the minute they open private schools, the comparison will be made कि government के schools चल नहीं रही हैं, private के चल रहे हैं. So they don't want all that, and that's why they've closed both. But that is like, you know, that ostrich effect, that you put your head in the ground and you think that, oh, danger has passed. So it's very, very important to understand that the governments will have to wake up. I know I don't like to bash governments, but it's also important sometimes to pinch them so that they wake up.
Very well said, Dr. Watts. And from this medium, I would like to request the smaller associations who've grouped themselves to join associations like ECA, to join hands, because this will make everybody stronger.
We made a WhatsApp group where we have brought together all associations. It's time we became a voice. Yesterday also I spoke to somebody and he said, "Ma'am, हम लोग एक movement चालू कर रहे हैं." I said, "क्यों चालू कर रहे हैं? अगर movement already चल रहा है, उसको join करो, उसको stronger बनाओ." Everybody wants to take that, कि मेरा नाम आएगा, कि मैंने नहीं खुलवा पाओगे ऐसे तुम लोग. एकजुट हो जाओ. Governments will be worried if they see us all together.
Very, very, very right, ma'am. Very right. I think it's time that we all get together, because ultimately it's going to benefit the child if the schools are going to reopen. So thank you, ma'am, for this. Over to you, Maharani ji, with the same question, that what is your advice to the government when it comes to reopening?
Well, firstly, going back to what Swati ma'am said, she said, I don't like to bash governments. It's not about bashing governments. I think, she very vociferously voiced what we all feel. And that is what a democracy is. Because you must learn to criticize the government and tell them where they're going wrong. And then, the louder our voice, the more they need to listen to us. And I think the country is crying out just now, because like I said, 1 year back, fine, we were all totally at sea, we were lost. But by now, what is the reason? If you follow the science and if you follow simple logic and good common sense, it is just basically about a lockdown is not going to solve your problems. It is about the medical system. So by now, you should have had enough supplies of all your drugs, enough lineups of hospital beds. You should have been prepared for it to come up in pockets, whichever state, whichever region, like she's saying, you had red zones and all that. And you deal with it in that particular zone. And like I said, we opened the day we were given permission, we opened everything, even our school hostel. Because if you are giving us permission, then it is our responsibility. So all of us we have tremendous respect for the frontline warriors, and, we mourn with all those who've lost their loved ones. But life has to go on. And like, again, Swati ma'am said, the future is those little children. So you don't want them to bear the burden of COVID for the rest of their lives. Like historically you have, right, from North India, there was a generation of my grandparents and my parents who never got over the partition of India. Now, you don't want these children to, grow up with the horrors of COVID. We must go along in life, and a year has passed. Yes, it's still frightening. Waves are going to keep coming, but you must educate people to have their vaccines. You must tell people, whoever has comorbidity, to stay at home. So it's simple logic. The government must teach people all that, and everything else has to be open. And again, it's not only about the economics of our country. You want restaurants to open because it impacts the economics. But again, going back to what Swati ma'am said, what about the schools and the colleges? And whether it's a little child who's 5 years old, or whether it's a girl, doing her third year, and she would have probably gone on to do her master's, but the parents are now saying, let's get her married. So it's life-changing decisions in a child's life. So for me, my advice to the government would be, please open everything up and make sure that the medical facilities are in place, and keep educating the people. Don't go for Kumbh Mela, for God's sake. Don't go for election rallies. Don't go where there are large gatherings. Wear your masks. And, again, going back to what simple logic we had, even this thing where, overload of information, everybody was drinking Kada through the summer months. You're not supposed to drink Kada in the summer months. So, using sanitizer all the time, little children using sanitizer and sitting with a mask the whole day. You can't have that little child with a mask the whole day. They must be out in the field. They will be healthy and they will not get COVID if you allow them to go and play their sports. So my advice is to, as and when in phases, whatever is possible, keep things open and keep educating the masses and keep telling people how to stay safe. And beyond that, this is something that we have to learn to live with, and you can't stop life because of COVID.
Very well. So I think 2 points from each of you I will take. One, that Dr. Watts said that government should involve associations when they make such decisions. I think that is number one. And second, what you said, as Maharani ji said, that when the schools or anything will reopen, we have responsibilities on our shoulders. So the medical facilities have to be in place. That is their job. When we reopen, to keep a safe environment is our job. So I think these two important points I'm going to take from this question. Dr. Watts, over to you. Now, when it comes to parents, what is your advice when the schools will reopen?
So my advice to parents is partner with schools. It's very important for you to understand that you chose the private school system, period. Nobody forced you into the private school system. And ask yourself why you chose the private school system. You chose the private school system because the government was not able to give you good government schools. So it's very, very important for parents to understand that you have made the decision to choose a private school. Now partner with that school. Just always bad mouthing private schools, calling them chores, is not going to be of any help, neither to you or to your child. I am just thinking that if when I was in school, if I had heard my father say कि ये school तो चोरी कर रहा है fees, would I have been able to study in that school? Would I have had respect for my teachers? Forget about all that. Would I have felt like studying? I don't think I would have. So it is very, very important for parents to understand that stop bad mouthing schools. If you have a problem, deal with the school, but not in front of the child. And it is very, very important to understand, this is for all future parents also, that education is an expense in this country. And it is parents who have created this problem, because there are schools like ours, like Podar, that does not take donations, and we don't take interviews when we take admissions. But parents find कि अच्छा interviews नहीं लेते हो, इसका मतलब है riffraff आता होगा स्कूल में. अच्छा donation नहीं लेते हो, that means कोई भी आता होगा तुम्हारे स्कूल में. You created this scenario. You spoiled schools and made them take donations. You are frequenting these schools who take a donation. So you chose the wrong school. Don't blame all private schools, please. I think schools, majority of them are doing a great job. And if you don't like the fees, change the school, I would say. Again, I'm sorry if I sound very strong, but right now, good schools should be focusing on the education of children. And it's thanks to schools and good schools in this country that schools are closed, but education is not closed. And it is something that both the government and the parents should be applauding, that it is because of a certain section of private schools that education hasn't stopped in this country. So please stop bad mouthing your child's school in front of your child. You are doing harm to nobody else but your child. And please get involved with the schools in helping change certain scenarios. It was parents who went to the government to stop the virtual schooling. And it was parents who said, हमको virtual schooling नहीं चाहिए, हम कैसे करेंगे, ban लगा दो. And then it was associations like ours who had to fight governments and convince them why it is important. So many legal cases happen. Maximum legal cases between schools, parents, and governments have happened during this pandemic. It is such a shame. It is such a shame that schools, being one of the pillars of this, democracy, are constantly into legal battles. What does it say for the parent community? So it is very, very important for parents to understand that, yes, you chose private schools, B, partner with your schools, and if you have a problem, please don't voice it out in front of your child.
Very well said. Over to you, Maharani ji. Advice to the parents for school reopening.
Well, I would advise the parents to be cooperative, because we have, seen parents clashing with the authorities, the school authorities, having their take on everything, too much interference. I do believe in segregation of the home and the school, and I feel that once you have dropped your child to school, let the teachers take care of that child and let them teach them. And I don't even think that children should be doing tuition and all that. So I feel that
Yeah.
once they're in school, it's the responsibility of the parents. So trust the teachers. The parents must learn to trust the teachers. It's the syndrome that we have nowadays in India, where if a parent has been told that your child is being naughty, or they're not doing well or whatever, they blame the teachers. I don't understand when that started happening. Earlier on in our generation, if a parent was told that your child is, in trouble for something, the parent got really worried and said, okay, punish them and make sure that they don't do it. But they didn't get angry with the teacher and say, how dare you say that about my child? So,
Hmm.
all these sort of things, the parent teacher relationship, trust is very essential. And at times like this, I think the parents should really focus on just giving love, security, an atmosphere of happiness, and let the teachers do their job. Let's not all become political with the teachers and the schools, and I mean, see how passionately Swati ma'am is talking. The teachers feel very passionately about your children. They're doing a lot. And we're talking about students on this panel, Harsha, but think about the teachers. My heart goes out to our teachers because, again, a majority are women. And going back to what Swati ma'am had said, because I actually had the same points and I had a few figures as well, because the female labor rate was up at 11% pre-pandemic, and it has already dropped to 9%.
Oh
So
dear.
women have dropped out of the workforce. And on 31st March, according to the World Economic Forum, they have said that the gender gap in India is the worst. We are 140 out of 156 countries, which is a dismal failure. We have 14.4% representation by women in parliament. That speaks about the entire country. And where do we have a majority of women? As teachers. All those teachers have really had a rough year. Look at them, they're doing all these classes online for their students. They are facing a home where they have to cook, clean, look after everybody, manage everything. I don't even begin to understand what they've gone through. So I mean, hats off to them, full respect to them. And I think we all need to help each other, encourage each other. And the moment things are open, let's just get back to normal. Let's put this
Absolutely.
behind us and get back into working mode.
Very well said. So I think the two important factors or the two important points that you both mentioned are partnering and trust. I think these are the key words when it comes to parents and school. If they have partnered with the school, if they are trusting the school, I think there is no problem at all. If the schools are opening in pandemic or closing in pandemic. So I think partnership with the school and trusting the school management is the key that both of you have told the parents. Now let's come to the school owners or the management. So, what is your advice, Maharani ji, to the school owners who are looking to reopen?
Well, I mean, as school owners ourselves, I think the main thing is to, I feel we should give ourselves 1 year. If you have this buffer, and you say that, okay, we're giving ourselves a period of 1 year to tide over everything. Now that starts with your administration, that starts with your academics, it's your sports, your annual days, everything. Because I know everybody has gone virtual, and I think it is going to stay like that for some time. But that also needs to be really reinvented, because what is happening with children learning on laptops now is that the ability to, already we had this rote learning system, now the ability to really think for yourself, it's only about reading a few sites, putting it all together, copy paste and everything. That time where there's a thing where the teacher says, write in your own words. That is very essential. You have to read from various quarters, and then you have to put it in your own words. So all these sort of things, we will have to go through a process. I feel that 1 year is sufficient time to realign ourselves. I don't think life will ever go back to exactly what it was pre-COVID. And hopefully we'll get past this 1 year where everything was on phones and laptops. So I think if we manage to, go step by step, and I think the most important thing is that to, absorb, a lot of parents are not going to be able to pay the school fees, and a lot of teachers will need that extra help. So for school owners, I think the onus is on us, and it's for us to be able to take care. If there are parents who feel that they might have to withdraw their child, we have to support them. And if there's a teacher who might feel that the pay cuts or whatever is not, they're not being able to pull through, so we have to make sure that they are on the right track. So there are a lot of responsibilities as owners of schools, and hopefully, like I said, I'm a great believer in the outdoor as well. The moment they're back on the field and the track, the moment they're doing the extracurricular activities and all, a sense of normalcy will prevail in their emotional well-being as well. So, once they're back with friends, that itself will make them feel happier and ready to get back into a normal life. So yes, I think go step by step, be very very practical, use your common sense, and the schools just have to pull the parents, the students, the teachers, everybody together and get out of this dark era that we have faced.
Very well put together, ma'am. You put it in a very simple language that use your common sense. I really loved that word, because most of the times in this pandemic, we have lost to use our common sense. So thank you so much for bringing this. Over to you, Dr. Watts. What is your advice to school owners about reopening and handling the present stress? Because being a school owner myself, there is a lot of stress. There are a lot of questions, a lot of struggling going on every single day. We have a lot of questions from the parents, from ourselves also. We keep on asking ourselves, ये कब तक चलेगा? हम इसको handle कैसे करेंगे? Because the children whom we are going to now cater in our schools are not the children whom we've left. They're going to be a very different scenario in terms of administration, in terms of their social development, whatever you can name it. But it's a very difficult phase. So what is your advice, Dr. Watts?
So I'm going to be upfront and frank. The scenario doesn't look very good for private preschools for two reasons. Number one, you still have 1 more year to go where things are going to be almost virtual. So the rent is going to kill you. And a lot of smaller private preschools have approached ECA, and we would rather show them the clear picture that many of them asked us, should we let go of our properties and because things are going to be virtual. And I always tell them that if you don't have any other income backing you and this is your only income, then it's time to let go. There are a lot of buyers right now who will give you a good price for your private preschool or for your standalone preschool, who will not give you that price once things are quite clear that things are closing. So I would be very frank with a lot of private preschool owners that please weigh your decisions right now. Number two, things are going to be very difficult when we do reopen, and I'm talking about preschools, because the parent is going to be in a very heightened state, emotional state, even when schools do open. This child has been at home for so long. The parent is going to again go through the same problems of letting go of the child. Now there are talks of vaccinations for children. So again, adults are going to wait for all the vaccinations to be over. They will not want to send out their children till that vaccination is not over. And vaccinations of all children, it means another 2 years. So it's going to be a tough journey for private preschools, and it's something that you must embark on this journey with your eyes open, is what I'm saying. That if you know your obstacles, if you know your problems, then you are ready to face them. Don't live in this utopia that things are going to get all right. September mein school khul jayenge. It's not going to happen like that. Schools will open. Preschools will open. preschools will be the last to open. They are not going to be the first to open. So which means एक और साल तो आप गया ही समझ लो. At the fag end of March next year, they may allow preschools to open. And if that happens, it will mean I would urge strongly to all preschool owners, number one, get your staff to do the ECA free course on safe reopening. Abhi time hai, staff se kara lo. Number two, follow rules like bubbles. We have schools in UAE. UAE में schools खुले बंद हुए अभी vaccination चल रहा है अभी वापस खोल दिए हैं schools को including daycares. So it is very, very important to understand there we follow a bubble system, which means 10 children are with one teacher and there is a timetable set for the entire week. So I cannot go to a particular area with my bubble if it is not my time, because that can be used only by another bubble on this day. So there are very strict rules to be followed, and if you follow them without breaking rules, India, I have seen educators break the most rules. Abhi aap dekho sabke Facebook page pe I have been unfriending so many people. They go for conferences, they go for award shows, bina mask ke ek dusre ke saath aise selfie le rahe. You are an educator, what are you doing? So I'm very scared that when governments do allow us to open, we should be very sensible in following all the rules and not cut corners, because it is going to mean a lot more usage of checks, sanitizers, masks. It's going to be it's something that you'll have to invest in. So it's very, very important to understand that don't break rules, don't be in a hurry to open, but when you do open, follow all the rules so that nobody can point a finger at the school community and say, dekha, ye log kaise rules break kar rahe hain. Like for example, I'll give you, in the middle in Gujarat, schools had started opening. And I got photographs from one of our members, and she sent me photographs of a school in Ahmedabad that was taking children on a field trip to a market. Now, आप पैंडेमिक में हो, आप उसको एक मार्केट में लेके जा रहे हो जहां so many adults are roaming around without masks. There is no social distancing at all in markets. So please stop your field trips, please stop your gatherings. You will have to follow the bubble concept. If you do it, we will be able to open faster and we will be able to retain our school reopenings. Otherwise, हमको वापस बंद कर दिया. See, governments are just waiting for an excuse to put it all on us that देखा हमने तो खोलने दिया और ये fiasco हुआ. So we will all have to come together, point out to each other if somebody is making a mistake. It will have to be us and not me and I. It will have to be a we going forward. But to the private preschool owners, I would humbly urge you to please take stock of where you are right now and how do you have it in you to continue forward. And last, a lot of teachers are not going to come back. And this is a fact. So before we reopen, please ask all your teachers how many of you are going to come back, because what's going to happen is schools are going to work on a alternate day method, which means I am a teacher in your school, my child is in another school. So my child attends school when I am at home or vice versa. So which means if my child is at home and I am supposed to attend school on that day, who will take care of my child? So nobody has thought of all these logistics which are going to come in. So it is very, very important that we take stock of the situation as we go along. Let's be alert, let's be together, and let's not take decisions out of emotions. It's time to listen to our brain, and it's time to be very logical in what we are doing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watts. Thank you so much. So today we really had a very fruitful discussion, because a lot of questions today that each educator had in their minds are sorted. Because the last answer, when you said, Dr. Watts, when you were upfront and when you said these things, I'm sure that many of us got our answers, because everyone, when this year started, everyone was in a dilemma कि अभी तो सब ठीक हो रहा है because the cases were suddenly down and everyone in February felt कि okay now we are going towards normalcy and again there is sudden hike in the cases and so the things have turned upside down. So thank you so much Dr. Watts for this guidance because apart from this session we would never have got this guidance. Yes, Dr. Watts?
I would also like to say that I know there is a lot of bashing which we do of political rallies and the Kumbh Mela and all that. But I also would urge the doctor community, our scientists, to do a little more research in this, that there is no Kumbh Mela or political rallies in Maharashtra. Why are the cases increasing there? So it is very, very important because I read somewhere that something called herd immunity, and what is it that is creating fewer cases, because a lot of people told me West Bengal is not testing as much as Maharashtra is testing, but even if you don't test there would be deaths, no, there would be still deaths related to COVID that would be happening. So I'm very curious to know that I think our scientific community needs to do a little more research, and we as a people need to stop hanging our excuses on different things. It's time that we behave like adults. I'm not supporting political rallies. I am very much against it. I feel there were two decisions that this country should have taken during this pandemic. One, how to do elections online, and two, how to do board exams online. So I think that's very much required for this country.
Very well said, Dr. Watts. You spoke my heart out because I, wanted to speak about this, but I did not have that daring. So thank you so much for putting that across. Thank you so much. So before we wind up today's show, Maharani ji, any conclusion lines from you for our listeners?
No, it's been very, very interesting hearing both you as well as Dr. Watson. Very enlightening because she's got to take from every angle of a child's learning and development. And I do think that going back to what she just said, I think the repercussions of the Bengal elections and the Kumbh Mela will probably come in a month or so. So it seems to be a cycle, when things open up and when there's, because I think what happened in November, December, there were these weddings and things got better and everybody was out and about. Schools also open in January, February, and then it takes about a month or two, and then again it kind of blows up. So I'm not sure. Of course, like you said, the scientific community they're also still struggling, I think, to figure out, how this disease works. But I do think that, mass gatherings are a complete no-no for the next year or so, until everybody is vaccinated and all the strains are completely under control. But otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure, and hoping and praying that, all our schools, colleges, everybody opens up as soon as possible. And one little point also that we kind of spoke a lot about the online virtual studying and all that. I think we need to give a lot of attention as educators to that as well now, because I think in the future it's going to firstly, it's only going to increase its intelligence. So it is going to get more and more involved in our children and our students, and we have to really know how much we're going to allow the virtual studying, and how and where it's going to take us in the future. So I think that that's something that we all really need to deal with as well. On that
Thank
note,
you so
thank you
much,
very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Watts.
I have three things which I would like to say in the end. Number one, please be aware that there is a third wave also coming. So don't think a second wave ho gaya, chalo, hello, hurrah, let's celebrate. There is a third wave coming. It's a mutating virus, which means it will mutate, and every time it will get weaker, and that's how it will disappear then. But it may stay back like a common cold or an influenza also. Number two, very rightly Maharani Sahiba said about virtual learning, and it's important that schools and parents don't expect virtual learning to be a substitute for physical learning, which means जो physical में करते थे वही virtually होना चाहिए. Virtual is a completely different format. So if you try to copy paste what you do physically, you will fail at virtual learning. And that's why ECA came out with its handbook on how to make virtual learning impactful. And it's very important that we learn more about virtual learning, the different part of the brain is involved in virtual learning. So it's very important that teachers and parents both understand virtual learning and then take it forward. And thirdly, very importantly, together we can. So it is important for us not only as associations to come together, but it's important that we take parents along. Because please understand, आप लोग कितना भी चिल्ला लोगे schools, government आपका नहीं सुनने वाला है. Governments will listen to parents who are their vote banks. So I think it's parents who should be asking for schools to reopen, parents who should be pushing the agenda of reopening schools. Only then it will happen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watts. And through this medium, I would request the mommy communities or the parent communities to wake up and initiate these kind of discussions wherein we start understanding that children are losing when they're not going to school. So school reopening is going to be a joint effort, a mammoth task, and we all have to be prepared. And the ECA has a wonderful guideline. I have myself, my teachers have done that course, and it is a beautiful course. So I request everybody to do that course. And on behalf of ECA and APER, I thank Maharani ji to be present for this show. Thank you so much, Maharani Saiba. And thank you so much, Dr. Watts, for your wonderful guidance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harsha, for giving me this opportunity to share the stage with Maharani Saiba, really.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.